Hi, this is Kat at inkingpaperwithkat.com. Welcome to my craft room. Today's project is this really small. It's only 1.5 by 2.25 by 3/4 inch box. But inside there is an Oreo chocolate candy bar, the fun size. Everybody loves an Oreo, right? Put it in a candy bar. What could be better? The decoration on it comes from the Toil and Trouble stamp set and the DSP by the same. No, the stamp set is called Cauldron Bubble. The paper is called Toil and Trouble. The supplies that we need for this project are a piece of cardstock that is 4.25 by 5, a piece of basic gray that's about 3 by 3, a scrap of basic black, a scrap of whisper white, and a piece of the Toil and Trouble DSP that has the cauldron on it. We also need the Cauldron Bubble stamp set, and we need the Cauldron Framelits. We're going to use the little cauldron. So the first thing we're going to do is some stamping and big shot work. So take your little scrap of Whisper White, and we are going to stamp the little ghost in Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And then to add just a tad of shading to this little ghost, we are going to use our watercolor pencils. And we're going to use the Gorgeous Grape and just give him a little bit of shading around the edges. It's not a lot, just a little bit. And then I'm going to use a blender pen to just kind of pull that color out and smooth it over. And you could also do this with a water brush. But he is a ghost, so he can look a little spooky. Now, with the Toil and Trouble paper, this framelit fits over this, and it gives a little bit of a border around it. But I actually want a shadow piece in the back. So I'm going to cut this out of basic gray, and I'm going to fussy cut this piece. Now, if you are a follower of my videos, you know that I have a Brother scan and cut, and that normally that's the way I would cut it. But for the sake of people who don't have that, I just want to show that this is an image that can be fussy cut fairly easily and quickly. And if you didn't have the framelits, honestly, you could just fussy cut the image and not have that background piece. I just happen to like that look of that little shadow in the background. But it is totally up to you. Or if you do have the framelits, just go ahead and cut it out with the framelit, and you don't have to have the background piece either. It's totally up to you and what you're interested in doing. If you were doing this with kids, I would say just use the framelits and cut it out. They love using the big shot, and it makes a nice project for them. But we're actually going to use the big shot a little bit to cut our ghost and our background piece. So let's get that up here. we can cut both of these pieces at the same time. So just put your cardstock with your framelit, put your stamped image down, line that up. Now I'm using the magnetic plate, so sometimes it bounces around. Top plate and cut. So there are our two images cut. Put this back on the floor. The other piece that we need is this little bat. And for that, I'm using this bat stamp, or stamp punch. And I only want the little bat, so I'm just going to slip a piece of paper in and just get that little bat. You could go ahead and punch all three and save the other ones for another project. The only other bit of stamping that we need to do is the Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is from the Itty Bitty Greetings, and the reason I picked it is because it is a very small greeting, and I needed something quite small just to fit at the bottom of the box. Again, we're going to use Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And I'm just going to stamp that on that scrap of basic gray. Now you could just cut that out with a pair of scissors. I'm going to use this label punch. I don't know if it's retired or not. It may well be. And I'm going to line it up as close to the left-hand side as I can. Punch. And then I am going to slot it back in through the top and punch again. Alright, let's score our box. You need your Simply scoreboard, your paper, and this is just a basic box. Nothing fancy about it. So on the 5-inch side, we are going to score at 3/4, 2 1/4, 3, 4 1/2. Then we are going to turn it to the short side and score at 3/4, at 3, and at 3 3/4. Alright, that is all your scoring done. Let's take a bone folder, fold and burnish all of those score lines. Alright, now with a piece of, or a pair of paper snips, the piece that, where there are two score lines at the top, and then the large rectangle, and then the bottom. This is the bottom of your box. This is the top of your box. So working on the bottom of your box, snip up all of those score lines. And then we are going to take some wedges out of the tabs. This tab we are going to remove, and we're just going to take a wedge into this piece. This is the glue tab. We're going to take a wedge on the other end of it, and we are going to remove that. So our box is going to fold around like that. Our closing flap comes from the back, so it's this one. So we are going to cut up each of these score lines to the second horizontal score line. We're leaving both pieces of this in place. On this one, we are going to cut at that score line. This one we are going to remove completely. And this one we will also cut. Now we want to take some very tiny wedges off of these tabs. This ensures that they will fold in without catching on the inside of your box. Now we want to round the corners, so I am using the Detailed Trio Punch, the corner rounder piece, and slide that in and punch, and turn it over to the other side and repeat. Alright, the box goes together very easily. We're just going to take some tear and tape and put it along the seam. Let's neaten that up a bit. Now we know that this is the back of our box, so this is the front of our box. This is the tab that we will be gluing down, so we need some tear and tape on it. And it's a small enough box that it is very doubtful you'll have anything that heavy in it, so one piece will do it. Alright, take your release tape off. Adhere your seam really well. Take off the release tape from your bottom flap. And do try to make sure your box is squared up. Use your bone folder or something from the inside just to give that a good push down. Most important part is the treat, whichever treat you choose. Put that in and close it up. Now all we have to do is add the decoration. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to adhere the image of the cauldron to the basic gray cauldron. And it is a very narrow little border. So just line that up as best you can. And then I want to take my little ghost and I want it to look like he is floating out of the cauldron. So I'm just going to put a little fast fuse on the bottom of the ghost and line him up where I want him to be. I'm going to use dimensionals on the back of the cauldron. Just give this some dimension. And I do want to make sure I leave room at the bottom to put my sentiment, and I'm just going to put some fast fuse on the bottom of that. You may need to grab a pair of tweezers because it is a small piece and you've got to tuck it in. Okay. And then the only other thing we have to adhere is our little bat. We're going to use a mini dimensional for that, right on the back of his body. And I want to bend his wings up and then down, just so we can give him some dimension and the feel of motion. And he's going to go right there. Now if you wanted to add bling to this, you could put a black rhinestone there, but for me, for a trick-or-treat for our kids, it's fine just like this. I hope you enjoyed the project. Give it a try. See you soon.